News when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris. There's your closing bell for this Monday on Wall Street, where a rally in oil drove stocks lower and equities fell from their all-time highs. And we bring you the closing numbers each day here at Bloomberg. The S&P 500 lost 16 points. NASDAQ down 64 points. The Dow down about 5 points. The 10-year Treasury yield at 4.25% and the 2-year yield at 3.72%. Sources tell Bloomberg that Spirit Aviation has floated offering the U.S. government an equity stake to help stave off its potential liquidation. The airline is reportedly seeking an infusion of cash from the U.S. government during a spike in jet fuel prices. Any proposed bailout is likely to get pushback from competitors that are also struggling with a spike in jet fuel prices. Spirit Airlines shares jumped 26% in regular trading. President Trump says it is highly unlikely he would extend the 2-week ceasefire with Iran if a deal is not reached before that ceasefire is over. Trump spoke to Bloomberg reporter Jeff Mason by phone earlier today.
One of the takeaways was certainly that he said it was unlikely that he would extend the ceasefire. That seems to be his way of maintaining leverage and holding leverage over Iran. He also said he was not in a hurry to get a deal because he didn't want to rush into a bad deal.
Bloomberg's Jeff Mason. Trump said that if they can't come to a deal before the ceasefire expires, fighting will likely resume and the Strait of Hormuz will remain blocked. He also said the ceasefire expires Wednesday evening Washington time, not tomorrow. Oil prices are higher. Bloomberg Intelligence senior commodity strategist Mike McGlone.
If prices don't go down, that surplus of supply versus demand in the U.S. and Canada, which is running around 8 million barrels a day, it's going to go to 10 million barrels a day by 2028. This is a market, it's a bear market that's bounced, much more likely to go down. And the key thing that might make it go down to that level by the end of the year is the stock market dropping a bit.
Bloomberg's Mike McGlone. WTI nearing $89 per barrel. Brent crude closing in on $95 per barrel. Wells Fargo CEO Charlie Scharf says allowing the Fed to operate without political interference is a vital part of the financial system.
The independence of the Fed is critically important. And when you think about just the way our governing system works, it's different than a place like China where there's high coordination across all the different areas of government. Here we have, a political infrastructure that turns over.
Scharf spoke to Bloomberg host and Carlyle co-founder David Rubenstein at the Economic Club of Washington. You can hear that entire interview on the Bloomberg Podcast's YouTube page. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer admits he was wrong to appoint Peter Mandelson as UK ambassador to Washington, telling lawmakers he didn't have all the relevant information when he made that appointment.
At the heart of this, there is also a judgment I made that was wrong. I should not have appointed Peter Mandelson. I take responsibility for that decision, and I apologise again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, who were clearly failed by my decision.
Mandelson was given the job despite failing security checks and was fired 9 months later over his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer says he's furious that he was not informed of that failed vetting. The Supreme Court will consider whether Colorado can bar Catholic preschools from a state funding program over their refusal to admit children whose families don't adhere to church teachings on gender and sexuality. The parish seeks an exemption that would allow it to receive funding even while declining to admit children based on their or their parents' sexual orientation. The justices agreed to hear St. Mary Catholic Parish versus Roy, a case in which the parish challenged Colorado's ban on Catholic schools participating in the state's universal preschool program. FBI Director Kash Patel has filed a $250 million defamation lawsuit against The Atlantic and staff writer Sarah Fitzpatrick over a story alleging excessive drinking and unexplained absences. The article alleges that Patel drank to the point of obvious intoxication and had meetings rescheduled because of alcohol-fueled nights. The Atlantic says it will vigorously defend against the lawsuit and that it stands by its reporting on Patel. That's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Amy Morris, and this is Bloomberg.